you know anything about the Dybbuk?
Ooh, have you seen? There's a movie about it. I think like in 2012 that came out. It was a really famous movie.
A serious man?
No, no, I think it was like
Oh, like
the
the whole
possession.
film is about it.
Really?
Oh no, I was asking because the a serious man, the first scene in the movie is a Dybbuk, and then it
Mm,
cuts to the future.
no,
You
I
see
think
this
I
like
think
interaction.
I think it's just called The Possession. I could be wrong.
Okay, so it's
But
like a horror movie about it.
yeah, no, no,
Cool.
no, no. Yeah, it was a horror movie. Relatively new, but it was about the Dybbuk. But there's one specific case, a recent case that I'll tell you about. To the best of my memory. So first, a Dybbuk. It descends from a Hebrew word which means attachment, and there are many different like interpretations of what a Dybbuk is, but they all revolve around kind of the same idea, which is like it is a soul that like did not complete their mission in life, or they did something really bad in life, and they did not get to go to the next world, olam haba, the world to come, like heaven as you would call it. And they're like a wandering lost soul, kind of in the kind of demon like in the in our world. And when somebody that's alive makes a sin, they kind of open a door for this soul to like grasp onto them briefly. And like they're in like apparently the mission of the Dybbuk, the soul that's grasped on, is to kind of merge themselves with that body, so that if that body completes like something good in their life, that soul can like be part of it and then go up. But it's not good for the host.
Oh,
It's not good for the host person because they start to behave different. It's like a possession. You know what a possession is, obviously.
yeah. So it's like trying to
Um,
ride the coattails into the afterlife.
exactly. Now there's one like specific story about it that's actually relatively recent. I believe the early 2000s, where there was somebody that claimed that they had a book in a box. They had one trapped in a box, and that's what the movie in 2012 was about. It was about the Dybbuk box. And it was basically a guy who claimed he had a box that was owned by like Holocaust survivors, and inside of it was the book, a cursed soul trapped. And this guy decided to sell it on eBay in like the early 2000s, I believe. And he sold it to somebody. He explained to them that it was, there was a damned soul in it or whatever, and came from a Holocaust survivor. And it went through a couple of people, and every person that owned it was like coughing up blood. Some people had a seizure. Some people had this. Just terrible things were happening to all the people that owned it, until it ended up in the possession of I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it was like a famous TV guy that was like he had a museum for like ghost hunting and like possessed things, right? And it ended up in this guy's museum. Now, this is what's crazy. This story, it stuck with me. It's insane. There's a famous video. Maybe if you're going to be editing this, you could like overlay it from YouTube or whatever. But there's a famous video. Post Malone was friends with the guy that owns this museum, and they decided Post Malone was like, "Yo, bro, I want to check out that Dybbuk box." So the guy's like, "Yeah, come here, I'll show it to you." So they go and they check out the Dybbuk box, and the guy that owns the museum touches it, and he completely loses control of his body. Like he can't
Ooh.
move. He can't move. And he said somebody was telling him to touch one hand on the box and the other hand to touch Post Malone to like kind of like create like a connection to like do it. And I believe the guy does touch Post Malone. And Post Malone like has to grab this guy and like throw him out of the room to like, because the guy can't move. He has no connection over his body. And then a couple of days later, Post Malone's tires on his plane popped, and his plane almost crashed. And then a few days after that, he got in a car accident that almost killed him. So it's
So are you saying that there's a good chance Post Malone is being haunted by a Dybbuk?
I wouldn't say anymore because I believe the possessions are very short term. Um, I don't know though. I'm just saying TMZ was all over the story. The video I remember seeing it years ago. I have to go back and watch it again. But bro, it's scary. Like Post Malone looks like freaking so scared pulling his friend out, and the box is just there, and the guy just like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he can't. Um, yeah, man, it's wild. Inside of the box, someone opened it. There was like a stone that said the word shalom, which means many different things. It means peace, but it also means hello. It means goodbye. Shalom has many different meanings. There's also like a candlestick inside of it. I don't know. I don't know who put the box together and who added that stuff in it, but um, Yeah, man, it's pretty scary story. But that Post Malone thing, it's like that really brought the concept of the book into, along with the movie, into like the mainstream.
Yeah, I had never heard that story. That's wild. I
Yeah,
hope
100%.
Post is all right.
Yeah, 100%. The video's everywhere. You can look it up yourself.
Yeah, I'll have to find it.
Yeah, you
What
really do.
about the Leviathan? Isn't that like
Leviathan.
a beast of some kind?
Yeah, the Leviathan. It's referenced in certain Jewish folklore. It's like I believe that's the underwater serpent, big serpent. It's I believe it might be briefly mentioned in scripture, actually. Um, but sightings of it, I mean, you got the Loch Ness monster, popping up. This is the kind of thing with like, with like not only the Bible, but like just, mysticism as well. When there are stories like this, like say you just take ones from like Jewish folklore, you have sightings of them outside of Jewish folklore. Like let's say the Leviathan, is some sea monster or whatever. You have the Loch Ness monster. You have that one guy that flew over the sea in Australia. I believe it was a sea in Australia. It might have been like a lake. That claimed that he saw a sea snake that was like the size of a building. Like, it's like they appear in different cultures. So yeah, man, it could be out there. I believe we've only discovered like what was it, like 5% of the ocean or like 10% of the
Oh
ocean or
yeah,
something.
and they try to map it, but it's sort of
So you never
quite a
know. There could
steep challenge.
there could be something under the water, but I just, man, there's
So
not
there's
much
nothing
more
too
you can say.
specific about that one. It's just why is it in the faith? What's the story around them?
I could tell you. I could find the exact verse for you. But it's
Because it's like, the other ones I kind of get. Golem, Dybbuk, those sound like folklore type creatures I can understand. But then you just have like a kaiju,
kaiju.
the
Yeah,
Jewish
man.
kaiju. Let's get
Yeah, yeah,
Leviathan
yeah,
in
yeah.
here.
So it looks like in Job chapter 41, can you pull in a leviathan with a fish hook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or a pierce in its jaw with a hook if it's begging you for mercy? Yeah, I mean it looks like they dealt with them in the biblical, but I don't know if it's like the same, cuz here it sounds like they're just talking about like a
Big
like a,
fish.
like a big fish, like a whale. But in our culture, the leviathan is like a fire-breathing fish dragon.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, man, I don't know.
Well, okay. Let me ask, because this one's not quite a cryptid, more of a character that I think people have taken and it becomes one, but I'm curious if you could parse that out for me. Who is
Mhm.
Lilith?